Pleased to welcome back to the Schilling Show Joel Gardner, president of the Jefferson Council. The topic today, UVA affordability, tuition hikes, what's going on. Joel Gardner, thank you for joining us once again on the Schilling Show.
Thanks, Rob, and it's always a pleasure to be on the show.
So I'm concerned, and you might know the numbers better than I do, but there seems to have been a huge discrepancy between the cost of education versus the rate of inflation. I'm not necessarily looking for numbers unless you have them, but is this a real thing, and why is that the case?
Well, it's a real thing,
Yeah.
A very real thing. And I'll just give you an example, something I looked at recently. When I attended the university, and of course that was back in the Jurassic Age, back in 1966, when I first entered as an out-of-state student, my total tuition and fees were about $1,200.
Oh, my goodness.
If you add what the value of that is in today's dollars due to inflation, it's about a 10-time multiple. So it would be about $12,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the all-in cost for an out-of-state student today at UVA, depending on which school the cheapest is the College of Arts and Sciences. It's about $80,000.
Wow.
So $12,000 to $80,000. I mean, and that could be if you're in the engineering school or in the Baton school or the commerce school. That $80,000 becomes over $90,000. So it's not even. I mean, it's not even in the same ball field. And the problem that we have at UVA is that we're not even in the same ballpark with a bunch of our competitors, schools that are closely aligned to UVA in terms of where they stand, in terms of excellence. So, for example, Chapel Hill, UVA ranked last year 26th in the U.S. News and World Report for universities. At Chapel Hill, we were tied with Chapel Hill, and the University of Florida, for example, was 30th. So we were 26th, they were 30th. You take a look at the in-state, out-of-state, all-in costs. At UVA, the in-state all-in cost is about $40,000. And as I mentioned, the out-of-state is somewhere between $80,000 and $95,000. UNC, the in-state is less than $30,000, and the out-of-state is about $60,000. So you're at about three-quarters of the cost. University of Florida, which is an up-and-coming school and is a great school down in Gainesville, it's been rising every year in the U.S. News and World Report. Their in-state is $25,000, and out-of-state $50,000. That's almost half.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, why is UVA so expensive? This is a school that has an endowment of over $15 billion.
Wow.
And that just finished a $6 billion capital campaign. And so why is UVA so much more expensive? And I've got the answers to that, and we can go through them. I think there are two major reasons for that, and we can talk about them. I think one of them is UVA's incredibly bloated administrative bureaucracy. Higher education and universities were created, and there really is a hierarchy in the importance of the category of people there. I mean, number one for any higher education school should be the students, right?
Yes.
Number two, the faculty. And number three, the administration, because the administration is only there to serve the students and the faculty. And if you go to the history of the University of Virginia, they really didn't even have an administration until the last centuries. I mean, they didn't even have a university president. Sort of the university president was the head of the faculty, kind of served as the president. And, you had the faculty and the Board of Visitors basically ran the university. And the administration, like any bureaucracy, just grows and grows and serves itself. And I'll give you some numbers on that.
Yes, please.
So for the academic division of the university, the university is split between its healthcare division and the academic division. For the academic division, which is basically what we think of as the university, there are 3,500 faculty members and almost 8,000 administrators. More than twice as many. And, if you spend the time going through the weeds and looking at these different departments and different offices, and I've been in the weeds at UVA since I was a student, as a student leader and serving on numerous UVA boards and being a UVA parent twice and being fundraising. And UVA has just been a passion. And, I've been in the weeds forever. And you look at some of these divisions and departments, and if you know about them, you could cut 25% without blinking an eye of the administrators, and it would not in any way, shape, or form diminish either the academics at UVA or the student experience. You could probably do more than 25%. I'm just saying, I think you could just do 25%, clearly. And, some of it got out of control. When UVA finally started instituting back a number of years ago, it's DEI bureaucracy. And, of course, that had been held to be in violation of various sections of the 1964 Civil Rights Act by the Justice Department. We built a DEI bureaucracy that, according to an independent study a number of years ago of over 60 of the major universities, in terms of cost, we were second, I think, to Ohio State, with about an estimated $20 million being spent on DEI-related employees, including 10 with over $200,000 in total compensation. And this hasn't gone away with supposedly UVA dismantling its DEI bureaucracy. What they've done is they've taken, as far as I know, no major DEI bureaucrat was fired, was let go. They've just given them different titles. For example, the one who is the head of the DEI department, Kevin McDonald, is now vice president for community engagement. And his salary went up from $401,000 in 224 to $413,000 in 225. And if you include benefits, he's now being compensated for over $500,000.
That is absolutely outrageous, and I'm sure that's not a standalone person, but this is going across the bureaucracy. We're talking with Joel Gardner, president of the Jefferson Council on UVA and affordability. Tuition increases constant. We have one more segment left and lots more to say with Joel. Let's go to the break and come back in a moment. The Schilling Show on a Manic Monday, heading into our final segment. Joel Gardner is president of the Jefferson Council, and UVA and affordability is the topic. You mentioned, Joel, the ability to cut the budget fairly drastically, and not in a bad way, but just that there's a lot of slop over there. It seems to me our best effort to do that could have been had over the past 4 years, but that the horse is out of the barn now, and that's it.
Well, that's probably true, and that'll go back to the fact that our prior governor, Governor Youngkin, just did not appoint the right people to the Board of Visitors.
Yeah.
I think we've gone through this before. He did not appoint a lot of big donors and political allies who were not in the weeds at UVA, didn't understand that, and had no intention of roiling the waters. The one person who did try
yes, we know.
to cut the budget and was serious about it and was knowledgeable about it, Bert Ellis, was ultimately fired by the governor because he was roiling the waters. And a lot of the institutionalists just didn't like that. And this would take a massive effort to do this, but it should. So we went over one of the areas, which is the administrative bloat at UVA. The second is there are a number of classes that, I mean, not a number. There are quite a few classes in the curriculum that are laughable, that should not be part of any rational institute of higher learning. Mr. Jefferson founded UVA as a public institution to educate a broader segment of the population than what was the current situation. And he felt it was important in a democracy to have an educated and informed citizenry. Well, there's just a bunch of courses that have nothing to do with education, and they're only there to push a political or social agenda. And we're not the only people that Jefferson Council will think this way.
Yeah.
The College Fix, which is a national online blog about higher education, picked up on this last month, and they had an article on one particular course, which they picked of just one of many, called Eco-Feminist Poetry and Poetics. And it was this course, you can't believe it. It has students are supposed to listen to birds and lichen to understand oppression. I'm serious. It's all about listening to plants and animals to better understand things like settler colonialism. I mean, it's laughable. If you try to even read the course description in the syllabus, it is a word salad of monumental proportions. You can't possibly. I mean, I don't care how many PhDs you have, you wouldn't be able to understand what this course is about. And that's not the only one. There are plenty of there's one I kind of focused on called Queer Judaism. And they kind of describe it as how might we radically reimagine what Judaism was, and could be through queer theory. How does Judaism queer our understanding of what religion is?
These things, Joel Gardner, just seem like someone's laughing all the way to the bank, getting paid to teach classes like that and having administration pop up to support it. I mean, that's just completely laughable. Were there similar counterparts when you were a student at UVA, or did this happen after that?
Oh, absolutely not. There was nothing like that. Now, of course, UVA has grown. I mean, when I was there, I think there was a total of around 5,000 undergraduates. Now there are 20,000, I think, undergraduates. But that doesn't mean just because you have more students that you have to broaden your curriculum to a point to add really embarrassing courses. These are embarrassing. They're laughable that they're part of an institution like the University of Virginia. I mean, again, you could probably cut the number of courses being offered by 20 to 25%, not have anybody graduate from the University of Virginia with an education that is in any way, shape, or form diminished in any real-world sense. I mean, so you've got these growth. I mean, that's why. I mean, take a look at that. Why is UVA twice as expensive as the University of Florida? And why is it a third more expensive than or 25 to 30% more expensive than Chapel Hill? There's no reason for it other than, this nonsense. And, they've raised money, billions and billions of dollars, and a lot of it is just to build new buildings, anybody can explain why they have a contemplative science building and center, which took the space of the last bit of outdoor recreational area, was the basketball courts for the first year dorms. They took what little was left of the open space there and built a building, again, that has no real meaning. Contemplative sciences. If you want to have a couple of courses in yoga, fine. But just because you had a major donor that offered them $50 million, they took it and built it. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, you drive around. I used to have a place in Charlottesville. I haven't for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I was never a full-time resident there. But, so I'm in Charlottesville a half a dozen times a year maybe now. But when I go down there, every time I go, there's less and less open space. Mm-hmm. I mean, and 250 West, the Ivy Corridor, will be like a canyon. They just keep up putting more and more buildings, and you wonder whether those buildings are necessary, or you raise the money, lower tuition, give your students both in-state and out-of-state the same great education at 3/4 or 2/3 of the cost.
It's exactly what we should be doing, but as we referenced, people who probably had a good chance of doing that are all gone now or have been completely diminished in their ability to make these sorts of policy changes. Joel, if people want to get more information on the excellent work that you're doing with the Jefferson Council, sign up, get on board, support your efforts, how can they do that?
Yeah, if they should go, the first thing is to go to our website, which is jeffersoncouncil.org, mm-hmm. where we have a constant flow of articles. And you can start reading them there, and then sign up on our list. We have a listserv of around 10,000 people already. And every Friday afternoon, we come out with a newsletter, which will help educate, I think, the entire university community. I mean, I can't mention it now, but we're planning on later today to come out with a blockbuster news story based on information we received from the Freedom of Information Act. So for our friends who are on our serve or will check our website, I think by tomorrow you'll be able to see kind of a major news story. We're there doing the work. We're the only ones in the University of Virginia community who are getting into the weeds and trying to, Mr. Jefferson's famous dictum, to follow the truth wherever it may lead.